Hello, everybody. We should be live now. I'm so excited. So this is our last live show for the Novellathon, and we are joined by the lovely Kayla Grosse down here. She wrote our buddy pick book, Trickshot, which was so fun. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we're going to go around the circle really fast and introduce all of us. And also, Sam's not going to be joining us today, by the way, but we wish her all the best, and we hope she's feeling okay. So yeah, Tiffany, do you want to start?
My name is Tiffany. I go by Tiff Talks Pages here on BookTube and Neverland Pixie on Instagram. And this is my first read of yours. I currently have Rein Me In, so I am sold. Very, very excited.
This is also my first read of yours, Kayla. I'm Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings here on YouTube and Instagram. So very excited to be here.
Am I supposed to go? I was like, I don't know. Do I talk at this part? I'm Kayla Grosse. I'm the author of Trickshot, Rein Me In, I Like You Like That, Wish Revelations, and Falling for the Manny. Well, co-write that one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm Kayla Writes Life on Instagram, and I don't use YouTube, but I probably should.
That's okay. That's okay. If y'all don't know, I'm Ava from Ava's Romance Books. And this is my Trickshot is my third book that I've read by Kayla, which I think we even talked about like a few months ago about doing a live or an interview together. And I was like, I would love to do one, but I need to read more of your books because I love to read at least like 3 or more books by the author. So like this is perfect scenario for me. So I'm very excited. We're all very excited that you're here. And yeah, whoever's watching, you can leave comments, ask questions. We're just going to be talking about Trickshot and Kayla's author life in general. So we're very excited. Let me get out. Oh, I was supposed to put that banner up that whole time. Oops. Okay. Let's see. Book summary. Kayla, do you want to give a little spiel on your baby?
Sure. Trickshot is a night of Christmas Eve debauchery, as I like to say, with my throuple, Jace, Leo, and Riley. It starts with Leo on Christmas Eve night at the airport, going home to visit his family, and he meets a woman, Riley, in the airport bar, and she mistakes him for his identical twin brother, Leo, who is a famous hockey player and actor. He doesn't correct her, and their flights get canceled, and he invites her home to this penthouse where his friend Jace is waiting, and they have a fun, thrilling night together.
Yes! Yes! So fun. So fun. If you have not read this book yet, please do. It was so stinking fun. But with that being said, how about we talk about some of the things we loved about this book? In the comments, you can write what you loved as well. But anyone want to go first? Tiff, Rachel?
I loved Jace. I loved his identity, how you wrote that in there. I did not know. Yeah, but about the Church of Latter-day Saints. I was like, okay, come with it. I also enjoyed Leo's sexuality, him being pan. I love to see LGBTQ plus characters on the page and how they both weren't just pan. You know, Jace being bi, Leo being pan. And then also, I thought it was so clever that I always enjoy a shorthand between characters when it comes to an emotional connection. And I could feel that between them, that they had a relationship and how we become privy to that as the steamy dealings are going on. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was real fun and interesting and a great like tool that you inserted that into their night moving and progressing along. And then also she just read like a real heroine to me. Okay, if my dream hook up stopped me in my tracks in the midst of my day, I'd have my Spanx on. Okay, I would be like, I have a checklist as well. And I love how Leo was just helping her tick them off. So I had a really good time with it. I was like, this is so real. I wouldn't be shaved either. Okay. I'm like, this is so great. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So real.
I love that scene so much. It's so good.
This is so real. I love
Right?
it.
I'm like, this is the real deal. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, same along with Tiffany. I loved seeing this relationship between Leo and Jace and how Riley fit into it. And it just felt like very organic to me. I feel like sometimes when you read throuple books, like it's very like forced, like it's very like, let's just get these three people together, but like this felt very natural, and yeah, like what Tiffany said about like the LDS church, like what? So crazy.
I know,
it's crazy.
Yeah, just like such a fun time. I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
I loved a lot about this book. I specifically love all the beautiful different bodies in here. I absolutely loved that. It's like my favorite part. I love that. And I know you highlight that a lot in your book. So I love you for that. And I just love like also her sister. Her sister at the end was saying like, it's okay if you are already in love with them, girl. I'm not judging you. Go have your fun. Go do it. Like,
yeah.
I love that part. I have not been good about keeping up with comments. I'm sorry, everybody. Hi, Taylor.
Lisa.
Hello. Oh, Taylor wants to know, how do you come up with titles for your books?
Okay, so I can't completely take credit for my titles. My friend and co-writer of Falling for the Manny, she's like a title machine. And so I came up with I Like You Like That's and Wish, and I think Falling for the Manny, but then for all of my other books, she has come up with the titles because, like I said, I'll be like, I don't know what to call this. And she'll just be like, ba-ding. And I'm just like, that's amazing.
I love that. Friends who come in clutch.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that is very sweet.
Oh,
my babies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really important to me. Like when I was writing the book, because this is my first queer romance, and like I really didn't want it to feel like I was trying to like just make money off of a community. Like I really wanted to have them, like I really just wanted, I don't know. It's just like one of those things that was really important to me while I was writing them. And that's probably why you feel the love, because I loved them so much. And like, I wanted them to have love for each other. And I didn't want to just be like this weird, like you said, like a forced throuple, like just being like, oh, we're all in one spot. And like, now we love each other. Like, I thought it was really important to have like a baseline that where two of the characters at least already had that like love connection, so that it felt like it was possible for then a third person to come in and like have this sort of instant connection with them. So I'm glad people have felt that. That's because that was really important to me when I was writing them.
Oh, it's definitely felt. And I also felt like there was still work for them to be done. So inserting that into a particular scene where they have a moment, I was just like, we all need a Jace when he tells him, like, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Just being there, patient. And then the food, I was like, we're eating too. I'm being served. I'm a little jealous. You know, like, was a lot. She got fed. She had drank. You know?
Yeah, I wanted it to really be like my men in my books. Like that's another thing that's really important to me, is that they worship and they're like acts of service, and then also too, because I write plus size characters, I always want there to be food scenes in my books, because I want people to feel like it's okay to eat in front of people that you're attracted to. Like, as like a plus size person is something, and not just a plus size person, any person, anyone, really, or man. That's like when you go, it's like when you go out on a first date and you're like, what do I order? Do I order the cheeseburger that I want, or do I order the salad? So like a rabbit or something, you know? So I always just want my characters to like enjoy whatever's happening in front of them without that like internal dialogue, unless that's part of the character like themselves, you know?
I love that. Yeah,
that too. I like how Riley appreciated that too. She was like, "Don't downplay this. This is
I
was like, "Yes, it is."
Yeah, especially because she had Chad before, and Chad was Chad. So
Chad.
Oh, Chad.
I wanted to highlight your backlist if you want to touch on those for a second. But I've read Rain Me In, Trickshot, and Falling for the Manny, but I know you have one more book, right?
I have two more. So my debut novel is a new contemporary romance fantasy that's unfinished. So I always warn people if they start that it's not finished. And it ends on a cliffhanger. But that was like I know I'm mean. I'm so mean. It was one of those things where that book was like kind of like my start to my author journey. And then I have the second book written. I just like haven't put it out yet. But so that was like my first kind of like exploration into self-publishing, and that character's thin. She's not plus size. So that was like kind of like, it was just me getting my feet wet. I do love that story as well, but it's just way different than my other books. And then Falling for the Manny was like a pandemic fun project with my friend Nick, and it's sort of just, it's very sweet. It's not like a super spicy book. And then again, that character is not plus size, and we did like a flip with that one where she's the millionaire and he's the Manny kind of thing. So that was just a fun, sweet sort of quick read. And then I Like You Like That was the book that really like put me on the map as an indie author. And that was my first plus size romance. So she's a plus size rock star and he's her bodyguard, and they're like ex-best friends. They haven't seen each other in 10 years. And she's got like a stalker situation. So they're
that sounds amazing.
I know. I was like,
yeah, that's next on my docket from you. That's next. That's next.
And that book is so fun, and like was definitely my first, it went viral on Facebook Reels of all places. And so that's how I like got, my audience. And then I wrote Rain Me In, which is my cowboy romance. And that book is also sweet and spicy, but has a lot of dealing with like grief and healing. And then I needed a little, break from that. So that's why I wrote Trickshot after that. And that was like me just being unhinged and fun.
Yes. I love seeing on your Instagram stories, because I've been following you since I think I read Rain Me In. That was the first book I read from you. And I was following you on Instagram and watching your stories of you like updating, like you writing Trickshot. I was like, I cannot wait for this. This sounds amazing.
It literally went from like, baby, there are no shouldn'ts with me to like call me daddy. Like it was just like, like 180. Like it was just,
It is a new experience after reading this novella here, because I was like, these ornaments,
And then, oh my gosh, us in the Novellathon group chat, we're texting each other the posts you made about ornaments.
Yes.
Do not actually use ornaments.
Because it's funny, like I'll get tagged in the EMT guy on TikTok and like, and I was like, y'all, I'm not serious about this. Okay. Like this is, there's a reason my author's note is like suspend reality and like have a little fun. Like, maybe don't think about doing this or like take it so seriously.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Oh, Taylor asked, what's your favorite sport, or are you a hockey fan? I think a hockey fan, maybe.
No, and never, which is hilarious to me. I knew hockey romance was popular. And so when I wrote it, I was like, I'm going to do hockey adjacent because I am not a hockey girl. And so my way to get around that was the mistaken identity, and him being the sports agent. However, now that I'm writing the brother,
your new one. Yeah, your new one.
I got myself into a fun situation. So last Sunday, I spent like 4 hours researching hockey and watching clips on YouTube and talking to my friend in Wisconsin who is obsessed with hockey and always has been. And I wrote my first ever hockey scene, and I read it to her out loud. And I was like, okay, stop me if I like said something wrong or like, so Kayla's going full blown sports romance, and people were like, you should write a figure skater hockey. I was like, no. No. I'm like the girl that's like like I believe horseback riding is a sport. So like horseback riding is like as sporty as I get. Otherwise, I'm just like I'm the nerdy like Broadway arts girl.
I love that.
Broadway, you say?
Yes, I know. I saw that you sing. That's
the
awesome.
Broadway queen.
Musical theater and opera are like my passions.
Yes, I have playbills framed on my wall. I'm staring at them over there.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, so favorite sport, I'll go with horseback riding.
That worked.
Taylor also asked, who was your favorite character in Trickshot, if you have one?
I mean, oh God, that's hard because I love them all. I mean, I do love Jace because I feel like, so he was also the first person of color I've ever written as well. And so I really wanted to, like, I really just wanted to absorb myself in him and his culture. And like, I used so I went to Hawaii in January of this past year to visit my friend who's from there. And she took me to like all the local spots and like, really like taught me about Polynesian culture. And so I just like kind of had this character in my mind. So it was fun to be able to also make him my first plus size male character as well. So that's also why I have another soft spot for him, because I'd never written a male plus size main character before. And then on top of that, he's bisexual. So he had like a lot of layers. And then he's also Mormon because I learned that while I was in Hawaii as well. And so I just put like, I don't know, I put a lot of love into him and really hope that I did him justice because I do love him. And he's just like a little cinnamon roll man. Yeah. So I think he just was like, he's like the background guy, right? That's like always there, like supporting, like, you go, baby. Like, and so I don't know, I really love him a lot.
Like the big teddy bear. I love heroes. I do.
Yes. Is that where you start? Like with your research, like, do you start with your characters first, or do you have like an idea of like a story to tell? Like, how does this story form for you? Are you a plotter?
I'm a pantser for sure.
Okay.
Definitely a pantser. Me and outlines never work out. We always break up. I'll sometimes just have kind of like thoughts for characters that I sort of just like store away in my brain. And then usually my books though will always start with an idea. So Trickshot sort of formulated from this like idea of initially it was just going to be an MF romance, and then it was going to be an MFM romance. And then I was like, then I don't know how it came to my brain about the like twin thing. And then when I started to write the book, I always say and I'm sure you've heard other authors say this, like the characters start talking to you. Mm-hmm. And Leo from like I was writing the opening, and all of a sudden Leo was just so he says that line in the beginning about how he wishes he was like back home, like banging Jace underneath the Christmas thing. And I was like, well, okay. Well, I guess that's where we're going with this one. And then I had also been talking to like my friend who's a male romance author, and he's a gay man and stuff. And like, we were talking about how straight women represent queer romance in books, and like what he doesn't like about it and what he wishes he would see them do. Cause he's like, especially straight white women have a lot of like say in the space, and a lot of the books that he sees being done like aren't like nice for him to read. Mm. And so I was like, I don't know. And so I just like all these ideas were sort of swirling, and then I just sort of like onto the page. So that's sort of how. But usually my books will start with like a spark, like some idea where it's like, oh, this is how I want, like that is the same thing with Rain Me. And like, I was at a bull riding bar. Like, so I got this idea, and that's how that started. So it's always something sort of just like sparks it. And then I'll like jot down like a rough outline, like notes, but usually by the time the book is done, it like doesn't have anything to do with what I wrote on the page.
Oh, because the characters had a mind of their own. Yeah.
They do. They literally talk to me, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. I get what you want.
Oh, yeah. This was from earlier when we talked about
what is the best food to eat on a first date? Whatever you want, baby.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Eat whatever you want.
Normally, I get whatever I want, but normally my stomach won't let me eat it is the issue.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm too nervous. I'm not hungry anymore, even though I hadn't eaten in hours. So
maybe just stay away from like garlic and onions.
In the spirit of Samantha, who's not here, but she's here in spirit, she orders dessert first, and I've started doing that.
I like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
I always try to do like appetizers, like, you know, like not a full blown meal. Like you say, like, let's meet for like drinks. And if, you know, things are going well, you're like, oh, like order an app or something versus like committing to the whole meal.
Yeah. But Kayla, I do want to mention you've actually met Samantha at Steamy Lit. I think right? You met Samantha at Steamy Lit. You actually got a copy of Rein Me In for me from you. So you signed a book for me.
Oh, I love that.
So I have that from you. So Samantha came in clutch for me because I was like, all I need is, can you
yes, Samantha. I had to think for a second because I have a couple of fans with the name Samantha, but now I remember because she messaged me and said, I'm excited to talk to you this weekend. And obviously she's sick or whatever. So hopefully she feels better.
Yes.
Did I do any research? Just, a little. I mean, most of it came a lot from, like I said, that trip to Hawaii and so the Polynesian centers that you go to in like Hawaii and New Zealand and like where there's these Polynesian centers where you can go and watch like shows and learn. Those centers are all run by Mormons.
Oh, wow.
So they're actually dry campuses. So there's no alcohol. So if like you go to luau's there or whatever, like there's no alcohol or anything.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So because my friend was like, I've lived, you know, she's Polynesian. She's like, I've lived in Hawaii my whole life, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, she's like, and you know, but we never went there because we're all like, oh, that's where the Mormons are. And then she said she went and she was like, it was actually awesome. I learned a ton of stuff that I didn't even know, but she's like, but it's dry. So there's no alcohol. And then that's how we got into the discussion of like, and so I did do some research. Obviously, this is a novella, so it's much shorter.
Yeah.
Had it been a book, I would have gone like probably done a deep dive, but this was more like a surface level to kind of get a feel for like how would Jace feel as like a bisexual man, and being from this culture and like telling his parents and you know all that kind of stuff. So that's you know, I like I said, I didn't do like a deep dive, but I did do enough that I felt like I could understand like what that meant for him, for sure.
And Leo and him being family, because they really did. They were like
family. The found family. I wanted that element too, like the found family too, you know, between him and Leo, so that you could really like feel what they meant to each other beyond just like the sexual stuff.
You did it really well. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Do you have a favorite book that you've written? Like maybe had the best like writing process out of all of them, or the funnest writing process?
I mean, I think Trickshot, because it was just like that was like my first time where I was just like felt really free when I was writing, because I didn't give myself like rules. Whereas with full length books, it's like there's a lot going on, and at least in my books, especially, like I was realizing that because now that I'm writing Lucas and Stevie's book, I was like, I just kind of was like, it's difficult for me because I really like to have subplots and like different layers and like things going on. So it's harder to write those books because you have to remember like what's happening and like the layers that you put in. And sometimes you'll forget, and like during the editing process, you have to go back and like, so Trickshot was just kind of like this fun. I still ended up having a lot of plot and layers in it that I didn't expect to have in it, because I found that I just can't not do that. It's just not in my author soul not to do that. But it was just more fun because it was like, I knew that I didn't have to include everything. So it was like, oh, I can just like skip over this, you know, whereas in a real long book, I'd have to like go deep dive into it, you know? So it was fun.
Yeah.
Is your process like, do you have like so you're currently writing right now, are you trying to like hit a certain word count each day, or like tackle certain scenes, or just like let it flow? What's like a day in writing, like of writing, look like for you?
Okay, so I like am weird. I feel like I always like I've been getting, especially because Trickshot blew up, I've been getting a lot of really sweet messages from like other indie authors, like, can you help me? And like, what's your process? And I'm just like, don't follow mine, because I feel like you'll just cry probably. I'm like, I have a full-time job, and I also have a horse. And so I like don't have, especially this time of year, because this is like my work's like busy season. I don't have like a lot of time to do my own writing because I write for work too.
Yeah.
So whenever I have a pocket that I write it, like I can write and I feel inspired, then I'll just sit down. So like I have 2 weeks off of work, so I felt like jazzed about that. So yesterday I wrote a ton. Like I wrote probably like 10,000 words yesterday.
Wow.
It's like a lot. But then there's some days where I think I wrote a lot and I wrote like 400 words. And then I'm like, okay, that wasn't a good writing day. But one thing that I've learned for myself in my process is like, I can't force it, because if I force it, then I usually end up like not liking what I wrote. So that is one part about being a indie author that's nice, because you don't have the like strict deadlines. Like if I do need to push a date, I can, it's there isn't a publisher like, nope, sorry, like this is the date, this is when you have to have it. However, with Puck Shy, which is the book that I just decided to write on a whim because of Trickshot's success, I do have a deadline. So this is like a new experience for me, because I have to, in order to release it on Valentine's Day, I have to get it to the editor on December 31st. So,
oh my gosh.
Wow.
I don't know, 14 days or something.
Wow.
So, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just do like a novella this time, like a real true novella, because Trickshot's a little bit longer. And I said, I have to do this. But then I started panicking yesterday, because I was like, I still have a lot that I want to say in this book, and I'm already close to 30,000 words. And I was like freaking out. So I emailed the editor. I was like, what is the maximum word count that I can give you where you can still do it in the time frame we discussed? And she was like, 65K. I was like, great. Thank you. Now I feel a lot better. I can stop like obsessing and panicking. Yeah. Because I do at the end of the day want to just do the characters justice. So even though I still have to like cut back on a lot of stuff and like time jump and skip, whereas in a longer book, I'd have that ability to like fill in those gaps, I still want to be able to like tell well-rounded characters. So I guess I gave you a really long answer, but that's my writing process is just, I like to turn on music. I listen to Dustin O'Halloran, the composer, and I like to have like a fun drink, whether that's coffee or like some fizzy something or other. And I just try to like focus, and then I try to just get as much done as I can. And if I'm not feeling it, then I'll say, okay, we're going to try again another day.
Someone asked this question, but I already had it as a banner.
That's funny.
Hot scene that you've written.
I think I liked so did you guys read the bonus chapter?
There was a bonus chapter?
Yeah, there's a bonus chapter.
What? I read the epilogue.
Yeah, so there's a bonus chapter in my link tree on.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh my God.
If you read it in the paperback, obviously it's not in there. But if you read it on the Kindle or Kindle Unlimited, I realized that I should have had her put it after the last page, but it's after the acknowledgments, I think, or it's like one page, like you still have to like flip and then it'll say, want more Jace, Leo, and Riley? Here's the bonus chapter.
Oh,
yeah. I need to have my formatter move it so it's like right after. but yeah, so and that'll be in the audiobook too, because I like to include the bonus chapters in audiobook, which I did for Ring Me In too. I included the bonus chapter from Ring Me In the audiobook. Except Tantor didn't say bonus chapter, so it says like epilogue, Gavin, and I was like, oh God. So I got a review that was like, the like extra epilogue felt like kind of strange because it's just dirty. It's just like,
oh yeah.
So I was just like, oh, I should have had them say like bonus epilogue or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, next time I'm gonna make sure they say bonus epilogue. So there's a bonus chapter on New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay.
And okay, I need to beat that when we get.
I know we're like,
and so they're in a mansion in an office, and Jace gets to be the submissive one in that scene. So that was really fun.
Oh yes.
But otherwise, in the actual book, I actually really liked writing the scene at the dinner table, because like it's the first time you kind of get to see like Jace turn into this like sort of dominant ma'am daddy.
Yeah.
And it was just fun to write that like sexual tension and like Leo sort of sitting there being like watching it sort of unfold after he had already had this experience with Riley. So that was really fun because I like writing the like banter and tension and trying to like convey that through words, which is really difficult. So when it works, you're like, that was fun.
Yeah, that was so good. I will say my favorite though, I love the intimacy of the shower scene.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I loved that. I obviously love the scenes where all three of them are together. Like those are fantastic as well. But like something about the intimacy about the shower scene. And the fact that Jace could hear the whole thing, it was like,
I know,
really hard not to go in that bathroom right now.
Yeah, I really like. It's kind of funny because some of my earlier reviews that I saw, because I'll kind of look at reviews in the very beginning, and then at some point I could like cut myself off.
Yeah.
But I'm always kind of like the early reviews. I like to like see what they're saying, and I know that some people wanted like more Jace, which I totally understand because I love him too. But I felt it was really important because like Leo and Riley are the first to meet, so like for her to feel comfortable, I felt like I had to have that scene with Leo first to like, which can kind of I get what people are saying, like it can kind of feel like, oh, she's paying more attention to him, or like there's more with him. But I felt like if I put myself in Riley's shoes, and I've never been with two guys before, they're two strangers. One of them is like this guy who I think is like this famous hockey player or whatever. Like you would need kind of just like a slow, like sort of not slow, because obviously it like a little bit of like slower transition into like, okay. Yeah. So I felt like it would be good to like make her comfortable with one person, then they have dinner, then it's like a little bit of more, and then they really get into like the rest of it,
the raunchiness.
Yeah.
Jace was popular. It's like, I'm picking you up from the airport, I'm making you some dinner, here's a cocktail, now sit and kneel.
Yeah.
Exactly, Tiffany.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, sorry, I'm flying through these questions so that we can do this all in an hour. So, which book of yours do you think deserves more hype, if you think there is one? Maybe you like really love one that you think deserves more hype.
Or you just wish more people would read.
Yeah.
For sure, Rein Me In, because it was kind of funny. Like my book came out like a month before Lila Sage's Done and Dusted.
Yeah.
And kind of funny because like people were really obsessed with hockey at the time. Like there was just like everything was hockey romance. Like and I know it's still popular, but like everything on TikTok was like hockey. And here I come with like this cowboy romance, which I know Elsie Silver's popular, but like everybody was reading Elsie. And so I was like trying to sort of like insert it like into that like sort of stream. Mm-hmm. Then Lila Sage came on TikTok, and she like one of her videos about her debut, Done and Dusted, went viral. And then that book just, when that came out, it just took off. And then our covers are identical pretty much, which I thought was
they're very similar.
Crazy. It's like same color scheme, same position.
Right, minds think alike.
Yeah. Like then she's a barrel racer. Blake's a barrel racer. They're dealing with like anxiety. I was like, oh my God, like were we in each other's brains when we like wrote wrote this book. So a lot of times like Rain Me In gets mistaken for that. Like I've actually had reviews that'll say like, I thought I was picking up this other book, but then it was this book and I was like pleasantly surprised. So I feel like it kind of like, and it just sort of got like this, it kind of got like put into this like weird, like buried almost over here. So I spent like months just trying to be like, read this book if you like done and dusted, you know, and then, so then it kind of got a little bit more when like Ava, you read it and you really helped it out a lot. And because I think when you picked it up, it was like you did like a thing like on Goodreads, it's under 500 reviews.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I don't know how many, but it's like a couple thousand, I think now. But between you and then a few other people, big book talkers picked up, so it got like a little bit of wind, but it didn't do like I thought it was going to do better than I Like You Like That. And so when it didn't, I was like, oh, okay, like that's okay. But I love that book. I think it's got a lot of heart. It's got for people that, but I think it's not for everyone because obviously it deals with a lot of like more sensitive topics of grief and healing and alcoholism and things like that. So it's definitely like, it's a fun and spicy read, but then there's also a lot of, you know, heavy topics in it as well. So I can see too why somebody, you know, might not want to pick that one up if they don't want to go that deep, you know.
I like deep.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I do too. Like when I first started writing it, I told my oh, sorry, that's my bird. Oh. Do you want to say hi?
Hey, girl.
Hello.
Hi, baby. Good boy.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't sure if he'd make an appearance. He's been sleeping on the floor next to me.
How many animals do you have? You have horse?
A horse and a bird. Yep.
A horse and a bird.
I'm a horse bird girl. You know, I'm like the kooky weird, the one that writes erotica. I don't know. I've got it all at this point, I guess.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love your stories with your bird too.
Oh yeah, he's constantly just making random appearances and stuff. But anyway, that was a long version of if I could pick one book, I would love for more people to read Rain Me In for sure.
Yes, and I hope it gets a lot more traction since the audiobook came out.
Yes, I found the audio on Hoopla, so I'm
very
excited. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like, when I listened to the audiobook, I was like, I wrote this. Like they did such a nice job. Like it's such a weird experience to listen to your book being done by like true actors, like people that just like you can hear. So Grayson is the man who did Gavin, and he you can hear how much he like embodied Gavin and how much he like adored Blake, like in the tone of his voice. And so it just made me like, oh, I listened to it like 4 times. I was like, this is so good. I'm like, some people don't like audiobooks, and I'm like, just listen to this, guys, because it's so good. And Desiree Ketchum is amazing. Like her man voice is like, whoo, she's good. Dang, girl.
And the covers are not identical. I love this cover.
I love it
so much because I was like, we got a curvy heroine here.
Oh yes,
and she's got the curly hair. Yeah, Blake's my girl. And also too, I think something that was really important to me with that book is like I grew up in the horse world, and in the horse world, like thin is definitely in. And you know, when you're a horse person, and if you post, like you see it all the time on TikTok, if you're on that side of TikTok where it's like a plus size woman on a horse and the comments are just brutal, like animal cruelty and like, you know, you're too big to be riding that horse and you should be doing that. And so, and you know, even now it's like when I was buying my horse, it was like, make sure you get a horse big enough for you. And it's like, okay, thanks. Like, I'm not aware of who I am as a person. Like, thanks for reminding me.
Right.
So I really wanted her. So she's like a champion barrel racer, like, you know, and the whole town just like loves her, and Blake's happy in her body, and there's no mention of her like weight being an issue. And so I just really wanted to like add that into the horse world because I feel like there needs to be more of that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also I want to mention how much Gavin absolutely loves every inch of that woman.
He loves her. Oh my God. And so if you listen to it, oh my God, he does such a nice job. Like I told him, I'm like, if I can hire you for, if I can hire you, he's like really wants to be part of this conversation. He's like, I said, if I could hire you for every audiobook of mine, I would. Cause he's got such a lovely voice. Cause I feel like I love all the growly voices, but I feel like now I listen to a lot of audiobooks where it's just always kind of the same, like growly voice. And Grayson just has this nice, lovely, like round, warm, like you're sitting by a fire. Like it's lovely.
I need to
listen
to it. I need to reread now because I read it before the audio came out. I need to.
Yeah, let me know what you think because he's just, like I said, both of them are just, I mean, amazing. And Desiree usually does like dark romances. So she was like, I loved reading this like sweet small town book because normally she's just like reading these dark.
That's how Ava got me to get the audio because she was talking about how he loved every inch of her. The body worship.
Yes, yeah. Let me know what you think. So fun.
Okay, another question I have was there any real life inspiration for writing Trickshot? Was a question.
Oh God, no, I wish. I mean, look, like, I mean, I did it. My ex, you know, he had some faults. That's why he's an ex, but the one thing that I did love about him was that he was always just like, he was like the first like romantic guy interest of mine that was like, I love your body. Like, I want to show you off. Like, you know, like, I don't know. So I feel like that experience has shaped my plus size romance novels for sure, because I had thought that like was not possible. So then to actually have that experience and be like, oh wait, that is possible. And to like put that in my writing. And so I put that in all my writing. Like all of my men are just, they love who these women are without it being like a fetish thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like, oh yeah, I love those chunky women. I'm like, no.
No.
Oh my goodness. What are some of your favorite tropes to write?
Well, apparently I realized the other day I love liars. I don't know why.
Oh.
I was like working on Lucas's book and he started to lie about something. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why do it? Because Gavin lies in the book and Rein Me In. And then, you know, obviously lies, which I know is like a big point of contention on like Book Talk with whether or not you like Trickshot or not. And so then I started writing. I was like, I can't do this again. And I went back and like fixed it and stuff, but it was just like, I don't know. I think it's because it's like a nice conflict point because it's an easy like way as a writer to be like, oh, well, of course she's going to get mad when she finds out the truth.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun. I don't know. So I guess I like that for some reason. But in seriousness, I loved writing second chance romance with I Like You Like That, which some people are like, is it second chance because they never really dated, but I think so anyway. So like, and it's kind of like a friends to lovers type thing. And I also loved writing The Brother's Best Friend. That's fun too, because I do like writing where people already have kind of a connection, because then it's like you've already sort of established that there's like a baseline there versus, you know, when people just like meet randomly, you have to like figure out how to make them, you know, weave together. So that's always fun. And it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I don't know.
I like how you infuse that. I was like, how does she do that? Because it's not just like we know that he's his, you know, best friend with benefits. Like you could feel it. And just like the scenes. So I was like, oh, this is how I love it.
Yeah, I think I just write whatever I feel like. I get these like feelings in my gut, like where it's like, it is just like a warm and fuzzy feeling. And I try to like bleh that onto the page, you know, because it's like how, if I had this kind of love, like if I had, and I think partially too, and I've said this on other like podcasts and stuff, because I got this like lovely compliment about how I write male characters and like male friendships and how they're just like not like competitive or weird. And I said, I think the reason is like, I grew up with a core group of male friends that were just, I got so lucky because as I grew older and talked to other women, I realized that isn't the experience for everyone. And especially as like a plus size person growing up and stuff. And so even though I didn't experience romantic love, I had these male friends that were just wonderful. Like they were never unkind. Like they loved me for who I was. Like we, would have long chat. Like I just, so like when I think of them, I think I get warm and fuzzies, right? So like if I'm writing a book where it's like these people have connections prior, then it's like, I guess I feel like they feel like a deep love for each other before they actually develop the love down the line, like the romantic love.
I know. Oh, am
I frozen?
No, you're not. I'm frozen on this question because I'm very curious to know. Taylor's asking some fun questions. You're talking about being eclectic with your horse and your parrot. But I am wondering too, have you ever dated a cowboy or a manny in real life?
Okay. No. I think I'm back. I was frozen.
Oh. Were you?
Oh. We could hear you. That was weird. We could hear you. Am I frozen? And we were like, no, you're not frozen.
Oh, no, I was frozen.
I have not dated a cowboy or a manny in real life. Cowboys, I don't know if you want to date cowboys in real life. Okay.
Right. The tea, girl. Why not? I'm over here in Las Vegas.
Okay, so cowboys in general, and I'm sorry if any cowboys are watching. They're usually very short. I'm tall. I'm 5'10". And look.
Me too.
Oh, nice. See, I'm not saying that you can't date shorter men. I'm not saying that. Okay? But like, sometimes when you're a tall girl and a big girl, you're just like, and then you're like a guy's 5'7", you're kind of like, can you handle me though? I mean, if you can, cool. Like, and who knows, maybe one day I'll date a 5'7" king, but yeah, so they're usually pretty short, but beyond that, they're interesting. Usually, I mean, I always say too, like, I'm not one for like, I don't want to have children and things like that. And most cowboys, and obviously this is a generalization, but, want the kids and they're usually pretty religious and things like that. So you just have to want what they want, really, at the end of the day. And again, that is a generalization, but from my experience of them, that's general experience,
I much prefer the fictional cowboys I get to read about than the real life ones because I'm from a very small town in Texas. I would much rather prefer the fictional ones. Okay, I would. Yeah.
So, and I think that's like, you'll see comments on like TikTok videos and they're like, on Elsie Silver's stuff, like, too bad this isn't real life. These aren't how real life cowboys are.
No. Those with like small town romances, like, you have all these cutesy small towns that's like Stars Hollow where everyone loves each other. I'm like, that is not what it's like in real life.
No, it's not.
Yeah. We wish.
Oh, wish, yeah. I have this question for you. At what point did you decide to be an author?
So my story's again kind of strange. Like I guess I was always a storyteller, whether that was just like me telling stories as a kid. Like everybody was always like, oh, you just love telling stories and stuff like that. And I loved to like act, and I did like plays and singing and stuff like that. And then I went to film school because I wanted to make movies. And I started doing like internships here in LA, and I quickly kind of realized that maybe I didn't want to do that, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So my friend at the time wanted to be a novelist, and that never crossed my mind because I was never like a big book reader. Like I would read like Harry Potter and Twilight, like the big books that like people were reading, but I never was like a book girl. And so I was a fangirl, so I read fan fiction all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, that was like me, fangirl, fan fiction girl. And I met this group of people that were novelists, like, and they were doing National Novel Writing Month. And I would go with them, and they were like, well, why don't you just like work on your scripts? Cause I was like thinking maybe I'd try to write scripts and stuff. And then one day I was like bored with something. So they said, why don't you like just write something? And so I started to write Wish, my first book. And so that was like back in 2008. And then I wrote like 120 some pages of it. And then I just like forgot about it basically. And I went on to try to write more scripts and TV shows, which never went anywhere. And then I got a different job, like editing film, and kind of just stopped. I didn't write for a really long time. And then when I was living in New York for a little while. And then when I moved back to LA, I had like a traumatic experience with something in my life. So I decided to just open back up Wish just to see like what would happen with it. And then I ended up writing a whole book, and it was like a really healing process for me. And so it just kind of like almost feels like it was this natural progression. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I ended up here because it feels like I never woke up and said, I'm going to be an author. Like I'm going to be a novelist. It was just this like natural progression, I guess, as a storyteller, and like where I could best tell my stories. And so when I got to the point where I decided to write I Like You Like That was because I was trying to pitch a television show about a plus size 30-year-old virgin trying to be an actress in Hollywood. And none of the white guys that work in Hollywood got that. They were like, what? Oh. Like people are virgins at 30? Like, oh, what? They just like could not get it. It was like, did not understand. So I said, okay, like, how can I think it's really important we have more plus size people in media, and like, how can I contribute to that? And so I started to write I Like You Like That. And then here we are.
Yay.
So
I love Tiffany's reaction to so much of what you said, because Tiffany does
I was in music and theater and drama, and went to film school, and lived in New York, and all of it.
Oh my gosh.
Scripts and trying to write for TV and
lives.
Yeah.
And now it's funny because I used to be like, I don't like books. Blah. And now I'm like a voracious reader. Like my Kindle is like, shorts out, because I'll go through like phases where I'll read when I'm not like writing. I'll go through phases where I'll read like 10 books at once. And then I'll like be like, okay, I can't read anymore. And then I'll write, or I'll listen to an audiobook or something. But yeah, now I love reading. But I think it was because, as a kid, you're like forced to read, and I never like forced to do stuff. Yes. So like, get those books away from me.
But I love how you talked about being a storyteller. So that's very inspiring.
Yeah, like when it's in your blood, you just find you always say like, I think that's the evolution of every artist, right? Or every person. It's like sometimes you just end up doing things you never thought, because it's just this natural, like you sort of just naturally fall into things, because you're like, what's the best way for me to like reach people and to like have my stories be told? Because I believe that those stories will help other people, or, be or not, just entertain people, or whatever it may be,
Kayla, I'm touched. Stop it, girl.
I have two more banner questions for you, and then we also have some comments. But yeah, what advice would you give to an author working on their first book?
I'd say just like not to get discouraged. I feel like it's really easy to get discouraged, especially with like this rise sort of indie author success and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then also trad pub. It's like, you see people, even me now, like you see me having this success, and I think people forget like everything that came before that, right? Like all of the blood, sweat, and tears, and the like your book's not doing well. I mean, Wish didn't really sell that much. Like, it wasn't a big success. Many didn't sell that much. Like, you know, it's a process, and I feel like it's easy to just see the success and then get discouraged, or like you write your first book and you're learning about how to do stuff, and like you publish it and nobody reads it, and you see people like getting tons of royalties and you maybe only made $5 or $0 or negative dollars in some cases. So I feel like it's really easy to like see that and like be discouraged, or see that there's like a lot of the book that you're writing or something like that and be discouraged. And I always say, and I've had this conversation a lot with people, it's like there's room for everyone at the table.
Yeah.
And you have to keep your, and I can be spiritual. So I always say too, like, you know, you have to have the abundance mindset. Like you have to, when you're writing, be like, I'm writing this, and like there are people that want to hear this story, and like not get discouraged with like thinking that that's not possible. And even if it doesn't go well and it like quote unquote flops, it really didn't. Like, you know, because you did it. So many people don't write books. Like they get discouraged because of these things, or they don't think they're good enough. So like, don't let imposter syndrome or like your fears of what can happen after you write the book, like stop you from writing. And then of course I always just say, just write the book, because you would be surprised how many people message me like, how did you do this? And I'm like, well, did you write your book? Oh, no, not yet. Okay, well, that's the first step.
Yeah.
Right. I love everything you just said. I love that. Thank you. And then you kind of already mentioned a little bit coming into this, but do you want to like promo your next book maybe?
Yeah, my random book that I never planned to write that I'm now writing in a month, Puck Shy, a Valentine's Day novella, is Lucas McKnight and Stevie's story. And they meet on Valentine's Day Valentine's Day night at a masked sex party.
Whoa, what?
And it's my first, so it is MF, but there are group scenes, and it's my first time writing FFM scenes.
Oh!
I guess you could.
I knew she was gonna get into some debauchery after reading about her.
Somebody was like, "Oh, this is gonna be spicier." I was like, "I don't know if that's the case, but it's spicy." I mean, the first scene is 10,000 words of smut, so so you know, because they're just fun. Like he's a hockey player and he's an actor, and so he likes to be watched and he likes to watch.
Oh, I love voyeurism.
Yeah, so there's a lot of voyeurism. There's also just like, Lucas is like, I describe him in the first book. Like I remember some of my beta readers, just like their comments when I was writing about him were so funny, because they were just like, oh my God, this guy sounds hilarious. Cause I think I said like Riley says like, oh, he looks like the kind of guy you'd like do a kegger with and he'd cry at the notebook. Like we stan, you know, and that's definitely kind of who he is. Like he's cheesy, like, but also like deep. He has, you know, he's older in the hockey career, like technically, because he's in his 30s. So like what comes next, and also like trying to play good games and stay on his game. And, you know, then he's got Jace Leo and Riley in the background doing their throuple thing in the news. And so there's just a lot of like, stuff going on in his mind, you know? So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited, and hopefully I'll have enough time to do arcs and things like that for it. Like I said, this is like my most accelerated like publishing journey that you
gotta finish soon.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm hoping. My friend was telling me this because I was panicking, and she was just like, you always like, she's like, every time you write a book, this is your process. So like, she's like, just shut up. I was like, you know, Marco Poloing her. I was like, like, this is the worst thing I've ever written. She's like, you say that every time. Like, stop it. I'm doing everything that I always do when I read a book. It's just on a shorter timeline. It's like, so I feel like it just feels like more, because it's like, it's just like it's all happening like at a much rapid pace versus like spreading it out over time.
This is exciting, though. I'm excited for it. I'll be
So
reading.
exciting.
Yes.
We love our Valentine's novellas over here. We had a
Yeah.
Novellathon round for Valentine's Day. So
Well, yeah, it's coming out on Valentine's Day. You know, I have to say I don't know how much Valentines are involved, but you know, it's like you know, they meet on Valentine's Day, and then I'm planning on like doing an epilogue then, you know, like Valentine's Day, so to like sneak more Valentines in there. But yeah.
yes. And we have a few questions from the comments. Taylor wants to know, what's your favorite writing snack, drink, or cocktail?
So I put a cocktail in the beginning of Trickshot, the one that Jace makes in the book. That is like something that I created myself and I make, however, sans alcohol. That's why I put, you can do it no alcohol if you want, because I'm not a huge drinker. So but especially over the Christmas time, that's like my like fun drink of choice, like Jace's cocktail in the beginning of the book. You guys can go check it out if you haven't already. And it's like cranberry juice and rosemary simple syrup and like a LaCroix, like a lime LaCroix or whatever. So I love drinking that when I write, or something fun like that. But if not that, definitely coffee. I'm a coffee addict for sure.
I saw that in the front. I was like, okay, cocktails.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been super fun because my friend, actually, another reader, she was the one that said you should put like a recipe or something in the book because people love that. And I was like, really? And then
we do.
So then now, like, I've been seeing TikToks of people making the cocktail and turning on the Unhinged playlist at the beginning of the book and like reading the book in one sitting and like recording the reactions. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I never in a million years would have dreamed that would be something that would happen. And to like watch it, I'm like, this is wild. Like, I feel like I'm in an alternate reality.
Right.
That is so cool. I love that for you. That is so cool. Probably like a surreal moment.
So surreal. Like, wow, people, like, I created like a whole experience for people. Like, I love it.
And then I think this is our last question. If y'all have any more questions, we're going to be wrapping up the live soon, but this is the last one so far that we have. Which one of your books would you recommend readers to start with first?
Definitely I Like You Like That. So I tend to like, and this is nothing against my first books, but I love my first books too. But I always kind of just like say, you know, to represent the author that I am now and like where my books are heading in the future as well. Like I kind of stick with my plus size babes. So I Like You Like That first, then Rain Me In, and then Trickshot. Obviously, if you want like a fun holiday novella, definitely read Trickshot first, because that's kind of like a different book from me. Like, it's not the same as like my touching / spicy books. You know, it's like I always say like I Like You Like That's like 2.5 chilies, and Rain Me In's 3 chilies, and Trickshot's like 5. So, you know, it's a big jump. And it's like a different type of book. So you can read Trickshot whenever, but I would say I Like You Like That and Rain Me In.
Awesome. So do y'all have any more questions? This was so fun. Thank you for joining us, Kayla. This was so fun.
I had so much fun.
I did too. I learned something. I moved. I'm inspired. This is fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. You know, I just think it's so important. Like, we have such a short amount of time on this planet to like do something that makes your heart happy. And, you know, I think whatever that may be, like, don't let anybody ever tell you to not do it. So if you're like waiting for that book deal or waiting for whatever, like, don't wait, just do. That's what I always say.
I love that. Oh, you make me teary-eyed over here. Okay. Thank y'all so much for joining this live show and for asking all your questions. And thank you so much again to Kayla for joining us. And we hope that y'all had a wonderful Novellathon. I know we still have a few hours left in this Sunday, this last day. I'm going to try and squeeze in a book, okay?
Me too.
But yeah, you can go check out Kayla's books. I've linked some of them down below for y'all if you want to go check them out. And Kayla's also on Instagram as well. And I think she said she had a book talk, right? A book talk, TikTok account.
Yes.
So,
Kayla Grosse writer. I was a bad social media girl and all my names are different. Kayla Writes Life on Instagram and Kayla Grosse writer on TikTok.
that's okay. Tiffany has the same thing. It's
Yeah.
fine. You know where Tiffany is.
And I also have like a personal like Instagram. So people have been following me and tagging me on there. And I'm like, so I'm constantly like, hey, this is like, follow this other one.
Right. Keep them separate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for joining. Oh, did you want to say something?
I'm going to do our giveaway.
Oh, right. Our giveaway. Yes. Go, Tiff, go.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm going to see if we can do this here.
This is the first time we've remembered to do a giveaway on live.
I know. These are the inputs. I think you can see them. I'm going to do, we're giving away signed copy of Adriana Herrera.
Oh, fun.
I love I love when it clicks. So this along with Ruby Dixon book plate, and then the next two winners, Melissa. Everybody's a winner. So
I love the gamification of this.
Lynn and that means as well as Carolyn are going to be receiving Amazon gift cards of $10 and a Christmas card of signed Ruby Dixon plates. I just my gosh. So you have won the signed paperback, and everybody will be getting a Christmas card with Ruby Dixon book plate. Yay! And then Carolyn and Lynn will be getting Amazon gift cards. So I will be doing that after.
Thanks so much, Tiffany, for putting this together.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Kayla. And thank you, Ava.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm glad this worked out. This was so much fun. And I'm going to follow all you guys on socials. I have to hear you sing, Rachel. I love it.
I got plenty of singing videos on mine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you need to go stalk her singing videos. They're so good.
If you look far enough back on mine, you'll see them somewhere.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I always say, I think in my old bio, I used to say wannabe or Broadway star in my head or something like that.
Love it. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day. And I hope you had a great Novellathon and you all love Trickshot because we did. Okay.
Yay.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. Bye, everyone.